presentation is about Chet Holmgren and the OKC defense. With him going out last week until February, it's a little bittersweet, but maybe like also kind of like a tribute, but we'll take it how it is and see what I found about his impact. So starting off, thank you. Starting off, I'll just go over some data I found, do a little analysis on it, and recap the results. It'll be short and sweet and right to the point. And first off, I want to look at defensive shooting frequency. So what this means is defensive shooting. So it's like teams that played against OKC, how frequently they chose to shoot different shots. And so I use data from Cleaning the Glass, which is a really cool website that aggregates a lot of NBA data and uses existing lineups and the possessions they played to aggregate along the different shot selection. And so they have shots from the rim, shots from mid-range, and three-pointers, along with expected field goal percentage. And so here I've laid out from 2022 to the present. 2022 to 2023 did not beat Chet Holmgren on the lineup. It had instead two Jalen Williams on the starting lineup, with their center being another Jalen Williams. And then 23 to 24, he came into the lineup. 23 to 24, this is playoff stats, and this is present day stats. Present day, I don't get into too much because they've only played like 10 games together. So I'm gonna mainly analyze those 2 years and see whether like his impact coming right off a redshirt freshman season made an impact. And then I'll also look at defensive shooting accuracy. So previously it was stats measuring how frequently the opposing team took the shots. And this is how accurate they shot all those shots. And so again, from Cleaning the Glass, a lot of numbers here that I'll recap again later. But yeah, as you can see, it does get like from blue to orange, and those are measuring the percentiles, orange being a higher percentile and better, with 99, 100th percentile, meaning they're like best in the league, whereas blue like 0 being worse in the league. And so yeah, let's get into it. So yeah, the defensive shooting frequency from 2022 to 2023, I mainly looked at those 4 categories, which are field goal percentage, rim, mid-level, and three-pointers. And then I also have the accuracy there. Since we're analyzing Chet Holmgren, who's a center, I wanted to mainly look at the shorter range shots, which were rim, and I also included mid. And as you can see, from 2022 to this season, both of those shots did go down in percentage for both frequency and accuracy, meaning he did make, or there is a visible impact and decrease of those stats. However, they still, the percentiles are still quite high, as they were shooting 68th percentile and 56th percentile from mid-range and 33rd, 41st, which were not that high. However, the accuracy was quite high for rim and mid in 2023, 2024, meaning that OKC was in the greater half of NBA teams, and the other team making their shots in those small range. And so this like going into some of the statistics. So as you saw before, I had like all the different lineups and the number of possessions they played. So I wanted to make it one stat. So I did the accuracy times the number of possessions, divide the possessions to get like a weighted average over the possessions. And then this thing is called a test of proportions. So it's basically testing whether the number from 2022, 2023 to 2022, 2023, 2024 was statistically significant, whether that decrease in their accuracy, and I wanted to test accuracy, whether that was a statistically significant decrease. And so to get that, I wanted to normalize the possessions. So like multiply by number of possessions, divide by sum of possessions. And so if you're not familiar with statistics, basically you come up with 2 hypotheses. A null hypothesis, which means that there is no significant difference between those 2 averages. An alternate one is that there is a significant difference. And basically we want to test to prove one of those. So looking at the data for shot accuracy at the rim, the accuracy went from 74.18% to 60.52%. And that, by putting it into the test of proportions, is infinitely small and much less than 0.05, which we'll use as a test statistic, which means that the difference is statistically significant. And I think this was quite expected, as their center play definitely elevated a lot with the addition of Chet, and proved by this p-value being really, really small and the average going down almost like 15%. And then looking at the mid-range, there was also not as large of an average, but putting it into the test, you get a p-value of 0.00055, which is also less than 0.05, which means this also decrease was significant, and that the only difference between the two lineups was adding Chet into the center with the other four players staying in their positions. And this significant decrease in mid-range shot accuracy does help his Chet's impact in the OKC defense. And then looking to this year, I wanted to bring this number up because in their first 7 games into the 2024-2025 season, this was OKC's defensive rating score, which was the second best in NBA history. And the margin to the league average at the time was actually the greatest in NBA history. And so that was 7 games into the season. However, it's small sample size, and now he's hurt. So there's not telling how this season will pan out. But I think looking into the future, he may be overshadowed by Wembanyama a lot. But I do believe that the OKC Thunder, with the addition of Chet, are destined for great success and also to break numerous defensive rating records. And yeah, thank you for listening.